welcome to the Water Bearer podcast. So, thanks everyone for watching and for tuning in. And if you have not already, make sure you subscribe to the podcast today. If you haven't already done so, and then also you can catch the drip or catch every episode every Thursday at 7 p.m. Central Standard Time. So I have two guests on today or this evening. And the first guest that I have, her name is Chana Brissett. I hope I said her name right, but I'll have her correct me because I feel like the first time I said it before, I might have mispronounced it. So please get me together if I say it wrong when I bring you on. But I met her actually through social media. I think it's a great example of the power of social media and when it's used in a positive way. And I ended up doing a poetry. It was like an online poetry event. This was like during the height of the pandemic, when no one was really coming outside for anything. I really wanted to do this poetry event, and so she was one of the featured poets that I wanted on there. She was one of the first people I thought of because her poetry is just so amazing. It's so dope. So I asked her, and luckily she was, down to do it. She was so easy to work with, and so we've kept in contact over the past, I'd say probably 2-3 years now or so. But before I bring her on, just want to give you all a bit of information about her. She does have a novel that's coming out soon, so that's very exciting. It's still kind of top secret right now, so I don't think she's able to give us too many details, but make sure you all are on the lookout for that, for her upcoming novel. And then she's also a director of client relations for a top premier DC catering company, for her 9 to 5. And she's a writer by passion any other time outside of that. So definitely we are kindred spirits in that realm because I have my 9 to 5 too. And then I do my other passions like this outside of that. Now we are supposed to have another guest coming on later as well. His name is Rick. But right now, I'll go ahead and let Chana in, and we'll get started with the conversation. Hello,
Hey, Carlos.
Chana, how are you?
Good. You were almost right. You're almost there. It's just
I felt like I was like, dang, I think I messed it up again.
all good. No, it's Chana.
Chana. Okay.
No, it's
Chana.
all
Okay.
good. It's so
Okay.
hard, I know.
I'm
It's so
sorry.
it's all good.
Okay. Well, just to refresh you, I know we kind of talked about this a little bit behind the scenes, but I wanted to have you on. This podcast is really highlighting the mind of an Aquarius and inside of an Aquarius. And so I know you were telling me that you don't know many Aquarius people. So it was funny because you all didn't know this, but she was looking up my horoscope and stuff. But right before
Yeah,
we went live, like, okay, what does it say about them? What do they do?
right. Exactly.
So yes, and I'll go ahead and turn it over to you. And then if there's any other introductory things you want to tell the audience, just tell us that. And then also, if you don't mind sharing your birthday and your sign with us.
Sure. No. Thank you for the intro. Yeah,
Of
I
course,
mean,
you're welcome.
no, yeah. I mean, other than what you've said about me, I mean, I'm pretty much raised in Washington, D.C. area. So,
Nice. Okay.
I love this area and I've been around, the hospitality industry all my life. So I love people, I love events, but I love writing. I love engaging with folks who also write. And I also love, the signs and zodiacs. And I always like to, check my horoscope and see what's going on with me for the year. I do believe in all the cosmic energy. So I
Oh,
was
nice.
I was born July 28th.
Okay.
Do I need to say how old, like what year?
Oh, you can just say if you want to just say the day and year, that's fine. I mean, day and month,
July,
that's fine.
July 28th. So I'm definitely a Leo, even though I think I'm on the cusp a little bit. I want to say, I think many Leos are in the August month, but I'm definitely right there
Mhm.
on the edge. But I feel like I'm a true sign of the lioness, based on the characteristics that I see. So I don't know if you want me to share that, but
Sure. Yes. Feel free.
Okay.
one thing I want to tell you too before you share it.
Okay.
So I click pretty well with Leos because
Oh,
my
good.
grandfather, he's passed, but he was a Leo.
Oh,
His birthday was actually July 31st. I have an aunt
oh,
that's
see?
her birthday's July 31st. And then I have another aunt whose birthday is July 21st.
Oh.
So, and then I have other friends into July. So it's funny you mentioned about the July
Mhm.
Leos because most of the Leos that I know are end of July Leo.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, most of
Same
them
with
are end of
me.
July.
I know like 3 other Leos, and they're like July 26th or the 27th. So
Right.
I don't know. That must be a coincidence as well. But yeah, I think I was just born to be a lioness. So
Hey, I love it.
yeah, you know when it's my birthday because you see the lions coming out of you know what I mean? I'm
Hey,
getting
it's coming.
extra, which is a part of our personality. We get real extra and excited about ourselves. So
Right. But you know what? One thing I will say, and I'm sorry, I don't mean to cut you off again.
no, it's okay.
One thing that I love about you is that yes, you give the Leo energy, but you're not arrogant.
Thank
I
you.
love that. So it's like it's a confidence, it's a the like you said, the lioness
Yeah,
vibe, but it's without arrogance or anything like that. So which is really dope. I love that.
thank you. Thank
You're
you.
welcome.
Yes. I feel like sometimes I do feel like Leos get a little bad rap because it's such a strong sign.
Hmm.
Um, and yes, we do like to be on our throne. So I think there is sometimes a balance. You got to be careful. Um, but I haven't really experienced any women Leos that have been, too aggressive. I just think that, we're just confident and we know what we want.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Mhm.
So what would you say as a Leo
Yeah.
woman, and then even if you think there are any, because we talked about this a little bit too before the show got started, any
Yeah.
differences between male and female
Yeah.
Leos, or we'll just start with you. Just what do you think some of your traits are as a Leo?
Sure. I think that we're very passionate people, number one.
Hmm.
I
Hmm.
think we just
I
have a
agree.
lot of passion. We're very sensitive, even though we have this strong, facade, or not a facade, sorry, but I think we are strong. We're also very sensitive and empathetic. We're very loyal. I think I'm a very loyal person,
Mhm.
which is, I think, a big trait of Leos. We're fierce though. We're protective, So you come near our young, or
Right. Say it's on, huh?
games, like, and I think so. I think there is that energy of like, yes, people will accuse us of being self-absorbed, or will be accused of being, all about self. I mean, don't get me wrong. I have no problem talking about myself. I have no problem being the center of attention. I love all of the love and the glamour. But we're also really giving people. I think that's a personality trait as well.
Mhm.
So I just think that we make I think we're very present. I think that we're
Mhm.
not, even if we're laid back, when we're in a room. I think it's just a
Right.
positive energy. Yeah. Um, and so I feel like I get that from a lot of people. I mean, I think there are times where I do have to quiet down and listen and not always be the, on the mountaintop with my
Right.
I'm working on that.
It's
but
a work in progress, huh?
as a Leo, I don't apologize for that too much. Okay, Carlos. Like, it's like this is
Hey,
who
it
I
is what it
am.
is. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
This is what I am. Like, sorry. It's
Mhm.
really interesting because I really only know a couple of male Leos. And it's interesting because one of them is very laid back. I feel like a little bit, maybe because I hear that sometimes you have with the sign like opposite spectrum. So like I feel
Oh,
like
mhm.
he is definitely total opposite of the outward personality, but I still think he still has the same traits of being loyal and being, sensitive and being a leader. He like runs an organization. So like, you know what I mean?
Right.
I feel like it's just a different, maybe outward personality. So you would never think he was a Leo, the traditional signs. However,
Right.
I have then dated a Leo male who was like me on steroids,
Oh, really?
but I feel like, there I felt there was a little bit of some arrogance, maybe a little bit of some controlling, dominant traits that for a Leo female, I was like, slow down, homie.
Right. Well, I guess needless to say, that didn't work out. So
I was like, bye. I hope he's not listening because he'll know exactly who he is. He'll be okay.
He'll know, like, that's me.
Well, that's a pass. That's the pass.
Right. He'll be all right.
He'll be all right. Yeah. So yeah, I don't know. I think female Leos, I may be partial to the female lion. And they say, female lions, we're the ones who go out and hunt. People people think that the male lion is the one. No, he's home protecting,
It's true. It's the female.
Home base. We're the ones who are out on the front line. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
For male lions, because we need him home to protect the home, like, protecting home base. But I'm just saying, like,
hey.
You know what I mean? We're soldiers.
Right. That's true. That's true.
Yeah, exactly.
And I think too that fierceness, I would imagine, that came in handy for you while you were completing your novel, or do you think that helped play a part in seeing it to the end?
That's really great. That's really a good point. Yeah, I do. I think we do have a quiet persistence and endurance. Sometimes it's quiet, not all the time it's quiet. But when I started writing this book, it was definitely pre-pandemic. I had every excuse for why I wasn't finishing it. Having, like you said, we have our 9 to 5. I'm a mother. And so I think the pandemic slowed me down a little bit, but then I was like, you know what? I'm going to finish this. I'm going to endure and push through. And even now that I'm, working still, I'm still like, I'm going to push through. So you're right. I think my personality has helped me in a lot of different ways throughout my life in general, and especially for the creative process. Whether it's the creative, just energy of being kind of like unapologetic for what I write, or like you said, just enduring going through the process, so.
Okay.
Yeah.
Huh. I love it. It's funny. So I know we talked about earlier July Leos, and I forgot there are a couple of August Leos that are pretty close to me. One of them, she's deceased now, but they both are church members that I grew up with. So they're really more like aunts. They're not really, I don't even really consider them just church members or friends. And so this is so embarrassing. I've never said this on a podcast or live anywhere, but it's one of my favorite memories I have of her. So I don't know if I told you, but I'm from Houston originally.
Right.
So when I moved to Dallas, and I've been here in Dallas now like 20 years. So technically I've lived here more than I've lived in Houston. And she used to live in Dallas too for a while.
Okay.
And I remember, because I'm big on music. I love music. Like, I don't know what I would do if I had to just go a whole day without music.
Oh no, that's good. It's like therapeutic. It's awesome.
Yeah, it is. It is.
Yeah.
And she would ride home with me sometimes, and she was so much fun. And what I loved about her was that she was unapologetically her. And it was kind of like you just took her or leave her. And most people, they loved her. They loved her presence and her spirit and how much fun she was. And I remember we were in the car, and I had this, this was before the iPod age and all that stuff. So I had these little mix CDs. And so I would try to pick stuff that, even though I knew that she liked R&B and rap a little bit too, I would try to pick stuff that wasn't too explicit. We're in the car going down the road, and I kind of forgot she was in the car. And one of the songs that popped up was Twister. And it's not too much in his catalog that you can just play in front of your parents or somebody like that. So we're driving, and no lie, I was so focused on the road, and we weren't talking for a moment, I forgot she was in the car. And so the song is playing, and then they get to I don't know if you heard this song before, but I think it's called 24s. And
Oh,
basically
I have to play it.
he said, make that, well, I won't say what he actually said, but
Yeah.
he would say, like, make that roll like some 24s. And I was like, oh, and then I'm like pressing the thing, like skip, skip, skip.
Right.
So she's like, no, no, baby. She's like, let it play. She's like, I like it. And she liked it. And we listened to the song twice.
Oh my gosh, I
Yeah,
love her. See,
yeah, yeah.
that's
She
how
was
she
so
is.
much fun. And
That's
every
how we
time
are.
whenever we would take another road trip together, she would
Mhm.
say, play whatever. She said, act like I'm not even in the car. She said,
Right,
just play whatever you want to play. And a lot of times she would be jamming out to it. So I
right,
never got too explicit in front of her out of
right.
respect.
Sure.
But yeah, she was just, I love that about her. And I think that's probably due to the Leo
Oh, 100%.
traits in her.
I
Mhm.
I do feel like my sister and like my family. I always make jokes like she has a new baby, and I'm like, don't let Auntie Chana get a hold of this baby because I'm gonna have
Uh-oh.
a I'm gonna have her with an afro, wearing, my sister, bless her heart, no, she's not that conservative, but she's opened up.
But more than you.
I think they're trying to like, gotta ease the baby to me because once I get a hold of that baby, that Leo, I'm gonna
That's it.
yes, exactly.
I love it.
Mhm.
Oh, so okay, so this is the thing that I was going to tell you
Oh, please.
that I was saving for the show.
Okay.
Okay, so I don't know how deep into astrology you are. I'm some of this stuff, to be honest, I've been learning it as I've been going through this podcast
Yeah.
because I know the basic traits of Aquarius, but I've been kind of reading deeper into some things. And I would always hear people say, oh, my moon rising is blah blah blah, or my
Yeah.
sun is blah. Have you heard that, or
Yeah.
do you know your
I've heard
sun?
of those things, but I don't go that deep. Like, um, although I have a friend who I feel like she's really, spiritually connected with that energy. Like this month, you should think about this, or like sometimes she'll say this week you should maybe, you know, uh, think about your goals, or this is a day that, what you're thinking about will manifest, that kind of thing, based on what day
Mhm.
it is. Like, I'm not that deep into it. Like, I just know kind of my characteristics, and I may read a horoscope here and there, but yeah, I don't know too
It's
much.
not deep into it. Yeah.
Yeah, but I
So
don't
so that's
knowing.
So that I was in the same boat too, or I should say I am in the same boat. I just
Yeah.
kind of delved a little deeper into this
Mhm.
subject just because I was doing this podcast. So
Right.
I found this website, and it shows you how you can calculate your sun's, oh no, well, not your moon and your, what is it? Because it's like sun, moon, and rising. I think it's three of them. I
Okay.
may
Yeah,
be saying
yeah,
it
yeah.
wrong.
No, that's all good.
But the sun sign is basically the one that everybody knows. So, like, the sun
Mhm.
sign would be like you're a Leo, I'm an Aquarius.
Right.
So I looked it up. And so before I read it, they were kind of saying that you may have like three different signs. You may have a sun sign, and then your moon and your rising may be different.
Oh,
So
wow.
I did it. And part of it is you have to know the time of day that you were
Mhm.
born.
Okay.
And I think like the day of the week too.
Okay.
Um,
Oh, wow.
but why was my moon and my rising? They both are Leo.
Wow. Really?
Mhm.
See? That's
Yeah.
always so
So I
cool.
have a lot of Leo energy in me, and I didn't realize I did.
See? See? That's really interesting. I should see what
Yeah.
my other signs are.
Yeah,
That's
I'm gonna find the
cool.
link, and
Yeah, please.
I'm gonna send it to you because it in the article that I was reading, it was kind of suggesting that your moon and your rising almost in some instances can be more dominant than
Oh, wow.
your
And your son.
sun sign. Yeah. Mhm.
That would
Yeah.
be really interesting to see.
So I guess I'm kind of like an honorary Leo, or maybe
Leo.
like underneath Aquarius, I'm kind of
You
more
clearly
Leo.
not like that old boy I was dating, because I wouldn't even be on this podcast if that were. I've been like, slow down,
You're
homie.
like, nah, nah. You're like, I'm not even gonna join.
I'm
I'm
not
not.
even do that. Yup.
Oh, I love it. That's too funny.
Funny. That's interesting. That's
Yeah.
great news. Yeah.
Yeah. So if I find the link, I'll send it to you because I thought it was
Okay. Yeah.
interesting too.
Please.
And I was saving it for this podcast specifically because I
Yeah.
was like, oh, I gotta wait till I have a Leo on here to bring that up.
Right.
Um, but yeah, I thought that was pretty cool. And so I know that you said your novel is kind of top secret, but
Yeah.
is there anything that you can tell the viewers and listeners about your book?
Yeah.
Um, any little teasers or anything that you can
Yeah.
drop?
I would definitely say it's definitely autobiographical fiction.
Okay.
So, there is definitely a lot of inspiration from my life, which is very cool. So speaking of Leos, it'll be interesting to see, you can definitely see that Leo energy in the book, I'm sure, with the characters.
Right.
Um, but yeah, no, I mean, I can just say, like I said, it's just about a girl growing up, trying to find, who she is and love and adventure. And it just has some cool twists and some fantasy in there, some
Oh, okay.
some cool energy. So yeah, I think it's a
Ah,
unique read. I'm really excited. I
okay.
feel like I'm a natural poet and short story writer. So to really push out this novel it's just such a project of love. But I've had such a supportive team. I have a little writing circle with some other authors who
Oh,
are
that's
also
dope. I love
writing.
that.
Yeah,
Okay.
so every Sunday, we write with each other, hold each other accountable in writing. And it's just been a really great process. Of course, there are days where you're like, "Whew, this is
Right.
exhausting."
It's a lot, right?
But especially I think also the genre. I mean, when you really kind of tap into like storytelling that may have some elements of your own self, then you're kind of like, wow, I've done a lot, or wow, this is funny, or this is
Right.
crazy.
Yeah.
You go through a lot of emotional roller coasters, but it's been like fun and therapeutic and crazy. So I'm
Huh.
really excited to share with everyone. I'll definitely keep everyone posted on when it's coming out. So for sure.
Yes. Please do.
Yeah,
Yes, for sure.
absolutely. Yeah. Follow me
Yes.
on Instagram.
Yes. Oh, yeah. Where can people follow you?
Just at Chana Lucky 7 all together. The number 7. So at Chana Chana Lucky Lucky and the number 7.
Number 7. Okay.
See, here I am. Look, I got a little my lucky magic number 7. See, I'm all
Hey, 7 is dear to me too. So yeah,
See?
I love
Oh my
that's one of
god.
my favorite numbers.
I'm telling you, everything great revolves around 7 in my life, I feel like,
Yeah,
so
yeah. Same with me too. It's a number that it kind of follows me a little bit, I'd say.
yeah.
So like even as far back as when I was born. So I
Mhm.
was supposed to be born on January 28th.
Oh,
And
wow.
yeah, and I was born 7 days after the due date.
Oh, wow.
And there's a
Oh,
lot of other sevens that have happened in my life.
see? I
Mhm.
believe in that. And it's always random too. Like something will happen, I'll look up, it's like 707. And
Yep.
my family, they're like, "Oh my God, Chana, please." Like, and I'm like, it's 7 days, or it's 7 o'clock, or this happened 7 times. There's always some
Yeah,
seven.
there's something to that. I
There
mean, and
is.
it's a
Come
biblical
on.
number too.
Yes,
So yeah, it's a lot of
exactly.
power in it.
It's a lot of power.
Yes,
Exactly. So
yes. Now I wanna go back to something you mentioned earlier too. So you said that I know you mentioned about autobiographical fiction, I
yeah,
think is the term that you said.
yeah,
So I think that's really interesting because I know for me personally, when I've
yeah,
written novels before,
yeah.
a lot of times one of the first things people will ask me is, oh, is this your story, or how much of this
Right.
is true? And a lot of
Yeah.
times there's little pieces that may be
Yep.
true, at least in the books that I've written.
Yep.
But for the most part it's largely fiction. So what
Yeah.
was that process like, or did you feel maybe kind of skittish in a way about sharing
Yeah.
some of it because it is partly autobiographical?
Oh yeah. There's always that thought of, you think like, well, how much of me am I going to put in here? You have these really great stories that you
Mhm.
know about. I think what's really interesting and really powerful, and I'm also just kind of a teaser. As a child growing up, I had a very, very active imagination. I was an only child until I was 12.
Okay.
Um, or 10. Sorry, that's not true. That's terrible. 10 years old. Yep. But I feel like being an only child, having a mom who worked, I was like her sidekick all the time. But I entertain myself and with my imagination. So there's a lot of, and this is true, my mom, even to this day, I have all these visions and I have a very active imagination. So I think it was easy for me to kind of really play on that. And so many of the realness is there's this fun embellishment or there's this dramatic embellishment. However, I find there is a lot of me in there. It's interesting. I feel like the people who know me will recognize some truths.
Mm. Okay.
Um, and those who don't will be like what you said. They're gonna wonder like, this seems like
It's
something that.
true. Right.
What about this? And I'm gonna be really honest with you. I mean, it's funny because people think like, oh, you should just write a memoir. Would you write a memoir? And I think memoirs are amazing. I think memoirs done creatively are even better. And I know people who are writing memoirs and they have a very creative angle. It's not just like I was born so and so.
Right. Yeah. And
I just felt like fiction on the heavier side of fiction would be really fun. But I do find that a lot of what I wrote, there's a lot of truth to it. So and I know I'm not really giving an answer.
No, it's interesting. I mean, it's giving insight into your book and your process.
No, I think it's just it's truth, with wings. I want to say that. Like that's how I think
I
of
like
it.
that. Truth with wings.
Now.
Okay.
So it is a lot of gray. But then there's, a lot of there are some stories in there that are straight fact, that are exactly how it was.
Oh, wow.
And,
Like no embellishment, just
none.
this is it.
And I think some of those stories, people would probably think like, oh, that can't be real. And
But
those
it's
are
true.
real.
It's funny how that works in life, like a lot of situations. And I'm sure like even people that are watching or listening right now,
Yeah.
maybe have been through some of those situations too, where if you were
Yeah.
to put it in a book, people wouldn't believe it. And they would say, oh no, that's gotta be fiction. It can't be the real thing.
And I know, and I'm laughing. So I'm like, I don't know. Will I admit it if I get interviewed? I feel like I know it's like this is practice, Carlos.
I know, right? Hey, that's right.
But yeah, it's actually really funny. I feel like I've had a very active life in my young years. Not that young, but in all of my young years. But when you have people saying you should write a book, I tell them a story. Oh God, you should write a book. I was like, you know what? I'm gonna write a book. But then you take it to a whole nother level. And so that's what I think that I did. It's kind of like my story on steroids,
I like it. And I like the mystery behind it too, because even though it is autobiographical, you're kind of leaving it up to the reader, it seems, to determine what's fact or what's fiction.
Yep.
And how much.
Right. Yeah, how much? We'll see how that goes.
Right.
But as a Leo, we love talking about ourselves. I feel like I'm gonna just be spilling the beans, probably interview after interview. Like, Chana,
there's nothing wrong with that.
I'll be like, yeah.
You're like about that.
Exactly. I don't know how much I'll be able to hold it in. We'll see how it goes.
So now that you've finished this process, would you say, I know we talked about a little bit before we got started too, the poetry. And would you say maybe poetry books are in the works too, or would you do another novel? Or
yeah, it's so funny that you said that. I really do want to do a book of poetry. It's so funny. I have so much like poetry and journals, and then a part of me is like, do I gather all my writings that I haven't shared with the world and put it together, or do I do a fresh new book? I definitely feel like there will be a book of poetry. My husband's also a writer. I feel like I would love to collaborate with
Oh, nice.
him on the
Okay.
DL. He doesn't really share as much as I am, but he's amazing. I would love to do that. Interestingly enough, I do want to write another novel. I am so obsessed with sci-fi. I know that sounds so left field.
Hey, no, that's
I
cool.
would love to do a sci-fi novel. But I definitely feel like I would, that's a big project for me. I would have to really, grind that out. But I mark my words. I think one day I'm going to do a sci-fi. I have so many fun ideas.
That's dope. So does your current novel, does it have elements of sci-fi in it?
Um,
Or is it more so just fiction?
it's more just like lots of visions, and I feel like a lot of fantasy. So I wouldn't say not necessarily sci-fi. I think there's some
Mhm.
whimsical aspect. There's some, definitely fantasy or some, you know, um, yeah, but sci-fi, no, not so much. But I think that my mind goes there. So I feel like it's a natural kind of next step.
Right, right.
Yeah, yeah. I feel like some people, I know that those close to me or some people who know about my book now, they were like, oh, do a part two. And, I feel like I could
Oh,
do a part two or another.
nice. Okay.
But, I really don't think I would. And I say that now, I don't know if that
Just
would,
leave it.
you know
Yeah.
what I mean? Just drop it and then
Right.
let the rest be be, like a good movie where at the end it could go on and on, but we're just going to leave it right there.
Right, right. I love that.
Yeah.
So another thing I'm curious about your writing process because I know sometimes I do this
Yeah.
or I have to do it to kind of stay focused, especially if
Mhm.
I'm writing a fiction piece.
Yeah.
Um, do you unplug from fictional TV shows or maybe dramatic TV shows or anything
Mhm.
that's in that same vein that you're
Yeah.
writing? Because what I kind of found when I would write
Mhm.
novels is I would write and then I would find myself
Oh,
having to push away the ideas that were coming to me in the TV shows
oh,
and in
right.
the movie. So it's like, in order for that not to bleed through, sometimes I
Yeah.
would cut it off. But I know some writers, it
Yeah.
doesn't impact them in that way. So I'm just
Yeah.
curious.
That's a really great question. I feel like with this book that I just wrote, it was such a personal project that I had so much material to pull from my life that I
Mhm.
did not feel like I was like taking any elements. Actually, taking any elements from anywhere. Like I don't feel like anything was really clouding me. I feel like I was really like I think how I started writing that book. I just kind of dropped all my thoughts and all my stories that I've had in my head and kind of put it on paper, and then I had to rearrange it and then make it richer and all of that. But I with that said, however, I feel like I write like people write a screenplay. I am a very visual
Mm,
person. So
okay.
when I'm writing, I feel like I'm looking at a movie. Like I'm very visual. So I have to feel like I'm in it, like I write from a perspective like I really feel like it's a screenplay. So one thing I have to say, when for the even for researching how to write this book, I watched movies, quite frankly, and I really thought about how the movies were, the directing or like the flashbacks,
Oh, okay.
structure of various stories. There's certain movies I could tell you that like I just loved how it was structured. So I feel like in my book, there's flashbacks or there's visions
Mm,
or visuals. Those concepts may have been motivated by various, you know what I mean,
right.
interaction I've had with watching certain shows, but not so much the content or
Okay.
you know what I mean. Now,
Right.
the sci-fi, I feel like I've watched too many movies and I have
Oh, so you have a lot of ideas from that.
I feel like I need to make sure that my thoughts are like original and authentic. I can tell you, I've spit out some thoughts to my husband, and some of it he's like, and then some of it he's like, I don't know, I feel like I've seen that somewhere before. I gotta be careful with that. You know what I mean?
Well, that's good that it sounds like he's very supportive, and that's good
Yeah,
that he will tell you
Like,
the
no, girl, that's
honest
been done
truth,
before.
the real deal. Right, right.
That's been done
Instead of
5
just being
times.
like, oh yeah, that sounds good, and just letting you run
Right,
with it.
right.
Yeah,
Absolutely. So,
I love it.
yeah.
Okay. Okay, so getting back to Leo a little bit. So I'm
Oh.
I'm always curious.
Mhm.
So I mentioned this a little bit before we started rolling. So I would say if I had to give the toxic Aquarius trait, if I feel like this is right
Oh,
up there. This would be on everybody's list. And
yeah. Yep.
this is, I think, probably male or female, but
Mhm.
from what I've heard, it would skew a little bit more to the male side, I would say,
Yeah.
is just being robotic emotionally, or at least that's how we're perceived as being robotic, like
That's
not really showing much empathy or much feeling. I don't agree with that, but
yeah.
that's just how a lot of people see Aquarians, I guess. So what would you say if you had to pick one thing?
Ugh,
What
I
is
use
the
them
toxic
all the time.
Leo trait?
I think there's a couple. And I don't know if
Oh,
it's a
really?
toxic Leo trait or if it's just the Chana trait that people complain about. My family, no, they love me. I'm teasing. No, that we're so dramatic. Oh, Leo, you're so dramatic. Oh, we know when a Leo is here because I'm sighing or I'm crying or I'm loud or I'm laughing. And I have to say, like, that's 95% true. I think I had a
Very
nickname.
dramatic.
One of my jobs, I mean, they would call me Chana Drama, like, oh, Chana Drama, because it's not even
Oh no.
dramatic. It's because I had a story. Things
Right.
happen to me, I don't know, my keys, are in the car, left running. Someone's I would come to work and they'd be like, Chana, what's your story today? And I'm like, let me tell you. But it was true.
If
It's not
you'd
my
have one,
fault.
a real story.
I think things happen to Leos. I think we're just in
In
everything.
that space to be
And things happen to us. You know what I'm saying? It's not my fault. So what
right.
they think is dramatic. See, and this is also a Leo trait. We deny any wrongdoing. So
Well, see, I think if you can admit that you're denying the wrongdoing, then hey, I
exactly.
feel like that's the first step right there.
The first step.
It's admitting it.
No, I would say that we're accused of being dramatic or emotional. And I think that a lot of it, to be fair, I think we're just being passionate people, you know what I
Mhm.
mean? That can bleed out to be drama. And yeah, I think sometimes we could tone it down, would be probably nice and maybe listen more and be a little more sensitive to others, people's opinions that aren't like ours, because we are good listeners. But
Yeah,
if you're
Leos are very good
wrong,
listeners.
though, you're wrong. And you'll just know.
One thing though I can respect about a Leo is, and I know a lot of them that are kind of opposite ends of the spectrum, personality wise, where
Yeah.
some are really outgoing and then some are more reserved.
Yeah.
And even the reserved ones, you never really have to guess where they're coming from.
Right. Right.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So
I
you never
mean,
have to guess that.
and I feel like, though we are loyal creatures, I think we are. And again, I don't not should like push this passionate thing, but yeah, that's sometimes wear hard on our sleeves. Sometimes that's tough because
Hmm.
wearing your heart on your sleeve, you get hurt. But I think we're really, I'm sorry, people like to be around Leos. Like, we are fun. We party.
Yeah, yeah. I was gonna say y'all are like the sign that's kind of like the life of the party.
We party.
Yeah, yeah.
And we're passionate.
Hmm.
Guys will be like, "Oh, I can't deal with a Leo," but you still calling me because
Oh, uh-oh, right.
you know
You
what's
can't deal
up.
with me, but you're still in the
You know
DMs,
what's
huh?
up, right? Because you know what's up. You know what I'm saying, Carlos? Like,
Yeah, yeah, that's true. Yeah,
okay.
yeah. People
Well,
will
that's
act
what
like that. They'll
I'm
act
saying.
like, "Oh, I can't
Nope.
deal with this or can't deal with
But
that."
you just called me, because you
Mm,
know what you complained about. Same reason why you're calling me. No,
hey.
I'm my mother cannot watch this podcast. I'm not telling her. I was gonna say, Mom, check this out, but
You're like, "No, you're just gonna let it be." She
exactly
might just find it on her own. Like, I saw this video of you, and it's like, "Oh, that
right.
wasn't me.
And she's a Scorpio,
That was
right?
my
So
doppelganger."
she'll be like, I'm gonna tell you how I feel. funny. Yeah.
Oh, that's funny. So do you have any sign now? One thing that I do want people to get out of this show is,
Yeah.
I want it to be fun and light and people to be aware of different things about the zodiac sign, but
Sure.
not leave here saying, oh, well, I'm not going to talk to this person because
Of
they're this
course.
sign or that sign.
Yeah.
But I will ask you though, I guess I'm kind of contradicting myself a little bit. Are
Uh-oh.
there any signs that you feel you do not click well with?
Yeah, that's so it's not funny because it's like I feel like we Leos, we just love everybody. I really haven't. I mean, other than a Leo male, I know that's terrible. I know I feel like I'm saying that already, and that's terrible
The
because
others,
it's not really fair because I do know another Leo male, but I mean he's just my friend, but he was a really nice guy. Maybe it's just this one Leo, and it may just be him. It may not be the fact that he's a Leo, so I shouldn't just put Leo men in a category
in
like
that
that.
bucket.
That's not fair. Let me not say that. But I don't know. You know what's so funny? I feel like I've known all kinds of different signs. I think about Sagittarius, Tauruses. I'm trying to think of
Mhm.
in all the signs that I've connected with. They all have their positive qualities. No, there's really no one that I've had like this, like, oh, that sign is just rough.
You
I
just
can't.
stay away. Okay. Okay.
Yeah,
I was just curious. Now,
yeah,
it's funny that you mentioned that about the Leo male, though, because I will say with Aquarius, for me, it's not always an automatic connection. And I think that's
mm,
because Aquarius is a sign that can kind of be all over the place.
yeah,
And I almost feel like no two Aquarians are really exactly alike.
yeah.
Um,
Thing.
and so sometimes I'll meet an Aquarius and I'm like, I don't know how this could either go left or right. Like
Yeah,
I don't know how this is gonna go. So I know some people they'll say, "Oh, well, because this person is my sign, I know I'm gonna click with them." And I don't say that about Aquarius because it's not.
right. You
It
just found
may or may not click. Right, right.
I also think sometimes too, I mean, also you have to be careful. I think it's all about like where your mind is. So if I say,
Hmm.
so like right now I have
So
two
true.
great experiences with Capricorns. So I'm biased.
Hmm.
So if I met a Capricorn, if I met someone today and they're like, I'm a Capricorn, I'm gonna be like, oh my God, I love you because
Right, because you've had a
I
great
like the other two
experience.
Capricorns. So they could be trying to rob me for all I know. And like, oh, they're Capricorn. You know what I mean? So, I mean, I
Right.
think sometimes we set ourselves up, or if I've had a bad experience with a particular sign, that I'm going to be like, oh, to all those
Hmm.
signs. So, I think it's easy to do that as well. But if you believe in the energy and the characteristics, sometimes it's the truth. Like if you are having issues with Sagittarius 3 times, maybe Sagittarius.
Yeah, you might need to stay away, right? Before you blow a fuse, right?
Right. Enough.
Right, right.
Yeah,
Okay,
exactly. It's really
okay.
interesting because I have like really close relationships with a variety of different signs. Like my daughter's a Gemini. She's the only Gemini I know. My
Oh,
sister's an Aries. I do know a few Aries though, both male and female, and they're very similar. You know what
huh.
I mean? So it's like very interesting how I do believe like there is an energy with different people, but if I only know one of one sign, how do I know,
Right, right.
Yeah.
That's true. Yeah, and it's funny. I click. It's funny you mentioned Gemini. Your daughter's a Gemini because
Yeah.
I tend to click pretty well with Geminis and Cancers.
Oh, Cancer.
So those two signs, for some reason, like I can meet a Gemini or Cancer sometimes, and I
Yeah.
can tell.
How?
Sometimes I don't know. It's just something about the energy. Usually, I can kind of tell, like, oh, you might be a
Yeah.
Cancer, or you might be a Gemini.
I always make
So
jokes. I'm like, Cancers are just Leos without like, the roar. I feel like Cancers and Leos are very similar, but then again, I don't know.
Yeah, they are. I would say that. Yeah, I would have to agree, and they're very. I'd say very in tune with their emotions,
Yeah,
probably more so than Leos.
I agree. We're too
Yeah.
busy, partying and
Like you ain't got time for all that right now.
whatever. I remember
I
somebody was
love
like,
it.
Chana, can you tell me whenever somebody says, Chana, can you tell me a little bit about yourself? And I'm like, yeah, I'm the
Like how
Leo. I
much you
can
want to
tell
know? How
you
much time you got?
whatever you want about myself. My mom
Like
teaches me
yes.
all the time. She's like, Don't ask Chana to talk about herself. So you know what I mean? So yeah, I know, but like the Gemini, my daughter, like I only know one, and she has a very distinct personality to me. You know what I mean? She's funny, and then but if she don't want to be bothered, you don't
So
mess with
does
her.
she have the twin side, like they say
And that's
most
like
Geminis?
you be knocking the door like, is this like who?
Like who am I dealing with today?
You know what I'm saying? And I love
Which one?
both sides, but you be like, oh, she's okay. We're good today. All right.
All right. I know. Yeah. Right.
I feel it. Right. Yep. So.
Oh, that's too funny. Okay, so before we close out, I want to play a little game.
Oh my goodness, I'm scared.
That I told you about. So it's not bad. It's not bad, but this game, I'll play a little bit of music for us. So Dead in the Water. And how it works is I will tell you, it's kind of like a this or that.
Okay. Okay.
So basically what you'll do is you'll tell me which one you would throw away. So the one that you like is the one that you keep to yourself and you don't mention, but you'll have two choices, and the one that you can do without is the one that you'll tell me.
Okay.
All right. So here we go. Dead in the Water. All right. So, and it's kind of like rapid fire. So you just like whichever one comes to your mind first.
I don't want that.
You don't want.
Okay. Okay.
Right. So this first one, poetry or spoken word?
Spoken word.
Okay. All right. Morning or evening?
Morning.
Okay. Pancakes or waffles?
Waffles.
Okay. All right. Lauryn Hill or Jasmine Sullivan? I know, right?
Oh.
Who you throwing away?
Jasmine Sullivan. Oh.
I'm sorry, Jasmine.
Oh, it tells you why. Yeah. Where I'm
from. You know what? I will say your answers, because when I make these questions, I try to tailor them to the guests that I'm having on the show. So your answers are pretty spot on to what I would have. The only one that I probably would not have said is I would have kept the waffles and threw away the pancakes.
Oh, I love pancakes.
Really? Yeah, and Lauryn Hill is I was listening to her today. Now I love Jasmine Sullivan too. Don't get me wrong.
She's amazing.
But I think what would put Lauryn Hill over the top for me, and I don't know if this is how it was for you, is because she can rap too.
Absolutely.
I mean, she's a bomb singer and a bomb rap. I mean, like
she's also very poetic. Like she writes her own stuff too. It's like her talent is just like it's incredible.
Yeah,
and I'm biased. Also being from New York, that whole New
York, right. Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like, it's kind of hard to deny.
I got you. Okay. All right. Well, yeah, it's definitely been a pleasure having you on the show. Thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule to join me today. And is there anything before we close out that you want to leave with the listeners and the viewers? Anything that you want to share that you haven't already shared?
No, I would just say keep listening to you and,
thank you.
Try to be true to your sign and have fun.
Hey, that's right. I love it. Okay. Cool. Well, thank you so much again, Chana. Chana, I said it right that time. Chana, I corrected myself. And yes, please keep us posted about your book, because I definitely will get a copy. I want to support, and I know it's going to be amazing. And then again, as a reminder, everyone, if you haven't, make sure you subscribe to the podcast. And then again, catch the drip every Thursday at 7 p.m. Central Standard Time.
Awesome.
All right. Thanks for watching.
You.
You're welcome.
Bye.
Bye.